Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I'm Max Sels, your host, and as Forest score 3 at Old Trafford to beat Manchester United for the first time in 30 years there. It doesn't get much better than that. Chris Wood is now our all-time Premier League top goal scorer. We will discuss that. Lots more records being broken, of course, throughout this season. Discuss the game, the atmosphere, and the tears from the Manchester United fans at the end of the game. We'll discuss all of that. First of all, joined in the company by Sam from the Tricky Tees website and all the clothes and everything that you're doing at the minute. Sam, great work. Good to have you back on, mate. Good to be talking about such a positive result as well. How's things and how's the how's the Christmas rush with the t-shirts?
Yeah, good to be back, mate. Good to be talking about a really positive result from yesterday. And yeah, the t-shirt rushes for Christmas is going really well. So really overwhelmed with how many people are buying the t-shirt. So yeah, it's great to see. And check it out if you've not already. If you've not seen it already on Instagram, Tricky Tees. Yeah, it's going really well. So can't complain.
Absolutely. You've got the best background out of me and Max, haven't you? It's a nice little Christmas tree in the background. So I like it, mate. Getting in the festive spirit, and
Yeah,
especially after that win.
my girlfriend wouldn't let me have a picture of Chris Wood on top of the tree, sadly, but I have to do the star.
Just shove one up there. Doesn't matter. Just do it when she's in bed or something. She won't notice. Also joined by Max Scott at Talksport. And Max, good to have you back on, mate. It feels like months since we've had you on the podcast, but you've been a busy man, so nice to have you back on. How are you, mate? And how's things? You must be enjoying watching Forest at the minute, and obviously talking about it a lot as well.
Yeah, mate, it's great, and I'm working with a load of people that had Forest to go down. So it's that's quite it's nice, isn't it? It's prove people wrong. That's what Forest have been good at recently, and yeah, mate, just can't quite believe what's happening. I don't think anyone would have predicted this, but I think that's what Forest are good at. At their best, Forest sort of prove people wrong, and often their own fans. So that's absolutely magic, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's. I'm still waiting for something Forest to happen this season. So maybe that's just the negativity in me, but you know what we're like. But yeah, long may it continue. All good. Right, let's get into it, shall we? And Max, you kick us off. Actually, I was there yesterday. Just special atmosphere. In my opinion, maybe beat the away end at Anfield. And I was actually said at the start of the season, going into this season, I wanted three things to happen. I wanted Forest to win at Liverpool. I wanted Forest to win at one of the Manchester clubs living up here. And I wanted us to beat Leicester to get revenge on that 4-0 thrashing in the first season we went up. And we've done all three of those things by the start of December, which is pretty special. Peter Drury actually said on commentary yesterday for, I think it was NBC or something like that, and he talked about it being such a significant result again for generations, and it felt like that in the away end, Max. So, just sum up the game for us and sum up how you're feeling just after a huge win. And obviously everyone talks about Man United. Well, it's only Man United, but still a big win. They are a top six side, so-called, if you like. And to go there and to play football and to win the game is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Man United beat Everton 4-0, who, were finished higher up the table than us last season. So I think it was they were just one above, or, we were in and around Everton all season. I think that says a lot. You can never turn your nose up at beating United at Old Trafford, regardless of where they are. You can't compare our journey to theirs. They're still a juggernaut. They're still, one of, if not the biggest team in the world. They've got a fantastic new manager. And so while we always look at Man United recently through the lens of them not being at their best and not being at the top, they've still got world-class players throughout the side. And so for us to go there and do that is massive. And it just makes me think, you said tongue-in-cheek earlier, I'm waiting for something Forest to happen. And it made me think that's because there's a generation of us, me included, who have never seen until recently Forest in the top flight, and so we're conditioned by mediocrity and we're conditioned to expect things to go wrong. And of course success isn't linear and progress isn't always linear. It's up and down, and we've had a down. We've lost 3 of the last 5 games. Heads were, the head loss was ridiculous on Twitter, and I always remind myself to never judge a fan base based on Twitter, because it's just not reflective of what the majority of people think. But some of the stuff people said to me, or some of the stuff I read after the loss against Newcastle, after losing to Arsenal, how dare we, you know, as if we have a God-given right to go to the Emirates and beat one of the best teams, what's been one of the best Premier League teams for the past couple of years. And the last thing I'll say is we've lost 3 out of the last 5 games and we're still 5th. That tells you everything you need to know about where we are at the minute, what a fabulous job Nuno has done. And the board and the owner of Angelos Marinakis deserve massive credit for really honing in on a transfer strategy, picking the right man for the right club at the right time, getting the right players in. The players love playing for Nuno. The culture's great at the minute. And yeah, it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. No, just lovely words. And I think you're spot on about the generational thing. You know, we're probably all from that kind of similar generation of Forest fans where we haven't seen much. And Sam, actually, you know, do you share that feeling with me that you always worry maybe that something Forest will happen, or is it just simply that you're enjoying it so much at the minute? And almost, can you believe it's happening? Because the Premier League, as Max was alluding to there, you know, Forest is still 5th. We've lost 3 out of the past 5, but it is such an open season almost this year. And you just feel maybe you do start to not get ahead of yourself, but start dreaming about whether Forest can do something special this season.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I have been since the start of the season. Like you try not to get ahead of yourself, but it's so hard not to. You've got to enjoy these highs while you've got them. So dreaming big and looking ahead of you in the table is what we should be doing right now as a fan base. Obviously, not getting carried away and not thinking that we're nailed on to get a European spot. But while we're here, we've got to enjoy it. We've got to think positively, and we've got to go out there and just enjoy what we're going through right now. I mean, like I said, the generational thing. I grew up kind of in that generation when, as you both did as well, where Man United were dominant, and we all grew up with Man United friends at school that had never been to a game, glory supporting Man United fans, and to see this kind of change, like going into an away game at Old Trafford, being ahead of them in the table, and on like in form. I know we lost a few, but like this season, like in form compared to them, and then going and beating them 3-2 in their own back garden. It's so good to see, and it's so nice that I can then go and rub it in those glory supporting Man United fans' faces afterwards. So yeah, it's a good time, and we've got to enjoy it. Like you say, enjoy it, but not to quite a classic Neil Warnock, but enjoy it by being disciplined. Yes. So yeah, it's all positive at the moment. We've got to stay positive and just keep riding the high.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Spot on. In fact, actually, Sam, let's go back to the first half an hour of the game, because even though Forest scored early and it was great to see Milenkovic on the score sheet, actually stood in the away end. I felt quite nervous. I felt like, not that Forest didn't deserve to be ahead, because we took the chance and we did what Man United have struggled at recently, which is defending set pieces. And for once, we were on the opposite end of that. Milenkovic gets the early goal, which maybe quietens down, like almost quietens the nerves down, if you like, but it still felt, I thought the first half an hour was a little bit shaky, and then Forest did grow into the game, didn't they? And maybe that's that kind of mentality from the players of, we're away, it's a big game this away at Old Trafford, you know, we're a bit nervous, we had a bit of a poor result in Manchester the other night, so maybe that was playing into it. But the first half an hour was quite nervy. Did you agree?
Yeah, it was. It was one of them where it kind of had shades of Forest from the previous couple of seasons, where we nicked a goal, but then we just gone into our shell a little bit and let them play. I mean, they were breaking the lines between our midfield and defence quite easily. But it's funny, like you say, I was nervous watching it, and then I don't know if you've gone back and watched Match of the Day. Match of the Day, it just seemed like it was all us the whole game. Like even the first half, like all the chances fell to us. It didn't feel like that watching it. It felt like we were kind of sat back and soaking up a lot of pressure. But if you actually turn it into like clear-cut chances, obviously they scored the goal. They had the Fernandes free kick that hit the bar that shouldn't never have been a free kick. But apart from those two chances, they really didn't create much, and we could have had another couple of goals in that first half. So yeah, it was a weird one. I did feel nervous watching, but looking back on it now with kind of hindsight, we were actually better than I maybe gave us credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to us about that goal, Max, because just a thought, you know, a great header from Milenkovic. And I thought one thing that Forest showed yesterday, and maybe the change actually from last season, especially away from home, is that we're almost capitalising on teams' weaknesses. And obviously United had this weakness with set piece, and that would have been talked about for days before. But you feel confident now when Forest get a free kick or get a corner, because you've got the height in the box. And we look at Ward and we look at players like Milenkovic that aerially are very good. But then you've also got players like Jota Silva who hits the bar with a header as well. And he seems to jump for everything, even though he's quite small. So, you do feel that you feel that confidence now almost in the side. And also great to see Milenkovic on the score sheet again, because just what a player he's becoming. I can remember, Max, actually, I think we reacted to him signing for Forest, and we both said how, good a piece of transfer business it was. And that really is paying off now for the club, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's a bit of a lag, but I'm just going to crack on. I mean, what I think you've got to compare the 3-2 loss last season at Old Trafford to our victory today. And I think, I love Steve Cooper. I'm, forever grateful for what he's done. But the way we won yesterday tells you everything. And the nous and the fact that we know what we're good at and we're playing to that, I think tells you everything about how actually that was the right decision. And Nuno's the right man in charge. And that's partly because of the people that he brought in, Milenkovic to partner Murillo. That header was absolutely fantastic. We've never shown that sort of grit. We've never shown that sort of dominance in the box while we've been in the Premier League until now. And I think that's indicative of the progress that we've made. Jota Silva, I was saying it because I was at work yesterday watching the game, and I was saying to my colleagues at work, this Jota Silva, watch him in the air. The first time I saw it was when against Liverpool, when we were 1-0 up. Balls get sent up and he beats Van Dijk, and it goes through to Alanga, who should have scored and made it 2-0. And that's when I first realised how great aerially he was. And so finally, Forest to sort of, and that goes both ways. It's not just attacking, is it? It's defensively. We conceded the most set pieces last season. We complained about it all year. And so we've got that sort of aerial dominance, which is what a club like Forest needs. We are markedly different to the style of a Man City or a Liverpool or even a Spurs, who are nowhere near those two sides, sort of on paper. I know City aren't doing very well at the minute, but I said last night on air, I think Nuno stands alone in that he's not trying to be following the footsteps of Pep and Jurgen Klopp, which is an admirable thing to do, and I understand why clubs want to do that. Teams like Leicester are trying to do that, teams like Brighton are trying to do that, but Nuno has a really clear way of playing. And what I'm beginning to think is that's not bad football. Defending well, watching your team defend well, soak up pressure, and then go on blistering counter-attacks, really quick, attacking forward play. That's exciting to watch as well. In fact, I would argue it's much more exciting than watching teams like City, as we have in the past, pass the ball along the back four for 20 minutes and then sort of slowly eke up and then, get a ball to a Haaland. I just think it's the perfect football for where Forest are at the minute. And I think we're seeing perhaps you've got an old school big centre forward up top like Chris Wood, who's not particularly agile, not particularly skillful. Or I'm not saying he's not skillful, but he's not like a Morgan Gibbs-White, let's say. And I feel like we're almost in Forest seeing a little bit of a return to the sort of noughties era, or that Barclaysman era of no nonsense defence and then scoring when you need to, being dominant in the air, all that sort of good stuff. And for me, what's wrong with that? It's great to watch as a Forest fan. We've not seen anything better for decades.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. I'm just picturing that image of Sean Dyche by the wall.
Yeah,
I keep seeing that shared about us, especially about games being called off with Liverpool and Everton yesterday. Sam, even when Forest didn't go behind, but when Forest conceded to United, not quite quickly, but fairly quickly after, and obviously to make it 1-1. Do you think, as a fan now, especially more this season than last season, you have confidence that Forest can still go and win the game, and you don't feel it'll almost be like total capitulation? We saw last season how quickly Forest would concede, and then most likely we'd concede another one and very rarely come back from a losing position or even just conceding to go to a 1-1 or a 2-2 in the game. So that's an improvement, isn't it, massively, that you almost have confidence now that Forest can almost beat any side, put up a fight against anybody. And if we concede, that's fine, because, dust yourselves down, roll up your socks, we'll go again.
Yeah, I saw stat that Sky put on about Forest. I think they scored the most goals first in the game out of anyone in the Premier League, and gone on to win most of them, which is a really good sign. It shows how far like the defensive kind of work has come, and that like Max said, that Nuno kind of style of football was being solid at the back, and that's the basis of everything. And having those exciting players going forward, and yeah, it's comfortable. Like you start to feel more comfortable as a Forest fan, having those periods where we go through games, we soak up pressure, and you think in recent years, thinking, oh god, here we go, goals come in, you can just feel it, you can feel it come in.
Yeah,
and it just didn't seem that way at all. Like even when Fernandes scored at the end, and we were holding on kind of towards the end of the game at 3-2, thinking in recent years we'd have shipped a couple of goals. Like, I mean, it happened at Old Trafford last year. We went 2-0 up and just kind of bottled it. Kind of got into that position and then didn't think it's almost like an ego thing. Like we gave them too much respect. Thought we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be in this position at Old Trafford, and it just kind of we just let them come back into the game. And now we've got this kind of confidence, this swagger about us that we should be here. We should be winning these games and competing in these games. And when we get into the lead, it's right. You've now got to come and break us down. We've got the points in the bag. You've got to come and get them off us, and we're not going to make it easy for you. So it's great to see. It really is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Totally agree. We'll come back to defensively in a minute, but I wanted to talk about midfield because I thought from afar yesterday, and after actually watching the game back on Match of the Day last night and this morning, I thought that Forest won the game a lot of the time in midfield, and that's where we've lost the game recently. And City was a bit different, and maybe you can write the kind of that one off. But in terms of that result against Newcastle, I felt like the turnover of play and the transition during midfield, Forest really struggled with. But I thought yesterday was excellent, and maybe bar Ryan Yates having a bit of a poor game again, which we'll get on to. I thought I thought Elliot Anderson was excellent for Forest. I thought Dominguez was good when he came on. I think he had a great game considering he's had a bit of a poor one against City. Just want to pull up some stats about Anderson. Actually, he created the most chances yesterday on the pitch, which was 3, and he made the most tackles of 5 on the pitch, as well as assisting the first goal for Forest. So just goes to show how crucial he is and how much we've missed him actually recently. Max, we have talked about it most weeks when he's been playing, but just how key is he to Forest in this almost, this not push up the table, but almost success at the minute, and almost how vital is he in terms of that transition of play and winning the ball in midfield?
Yeah, I've said it before. He's playing where he should have been playing at Newcastle. And I think it's great that yesterday it looked like Nuno really found how to play Gibbs White and Anderson. It felt for a time when Gibbs White was injured that, Anderson was playing in that position, in his position, and he was doing really well in there. But I think playing him a little deeper and then allowing Morgan Gibbs White a little bit more creative freedom.
Oh, we've lost him. The Wi-Fi, the powers that be. He was making some really good points then about Anderson. Oh, he's back. Max, we lost you, mate. Sorry.
I think it's a relief that he and Morgan Gibbs White are playing in the same starting 11, and that he's playing a little bit deeper because I think he's got that sort of those physical attributes to be able to do that week in, week out. Really happy with that midfield and the starting 11 at the minute and how it looked yesterday.
Do you think there's an argument, Sam, about him and Gibbs White playing together? I had someone talk to me about this actually at Man City Way, just in the crowd, about they thought that maybe those two didn't work well together. But obviously yesterday, until Morgan came off, I thought they were both excellent. So does that maybe put that argument to bed, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Anderson, like Max said, he's a proper number 8. I know he wears it on his back. He can do everything. Defensively, I was so impressed with him yesterday. Obviously, like you said, that start about him making the most tackles. He was fantastic. And yeah, there has obviously been that conversation about whether he is just kind of a number 10 backup, but it showed there that they can both play. I actually thought Morgan was a little bit quiet particularly in the first half. I thought he was struggling to kind of get onto the ball and really have an impact going forward. But he's one of those players that just needs a moment of magic, and obviously he scored his goal. Well, a bit of a hand from United's goalkeeper Onana, but scored his goal and then put a great ball in for Chris Wood's goal as well. So he's one of those players that he can be a moments player. He can be a player that drives games, and if he's not doing it and he's not driving the game forward, then he can have those moments and come up and put his name out there and put his name in lights. So I think they're both of those two. And Chris Wood must be. I mean, you've probably got 11 names that should be first name on the team sheet. Really, they're all playing so well, but those two in particular are really working together really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Max, on Morgan Gibbs-White, again, we talk about him so much, but maybe he's had a bit of a quiet start to the season, and maybe he needs to find himself scoring the chances that he often creates and finds himself in. He had that big chance against City. We all talked about it recently, and that changes the same with the Wood one. It changes the whole complexity of that game. But he had a chance, whether on Onana gave him a hand or what, but Forest scored from open play, which was good to see given the concerns over that recently. Morgan Gibbs-White gets on the score sheet to put Forest 2-1 up, and just a special moment for him as well.
Yeah, look, I think you've got to remember he has been injured and he's been struggling with that ankle pretty much most of the season. I think Sam said it absolutely right. He can be a moments player, but he can also control and drive games. We've been used to him seeing driving games up and down, sort of making big tackles, getting a crowd up, and that's just not been what he's able to do this season. But I think that's partly because we've been less reliant on him. We've invested really well. We've developed as a team tactically, and so we don't need to go through him as often. And I think we'll see him drive games more and more, I think, throughout the season, as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that, Max, and maybe this is a weird thought from me, but when Morgan plays against almost the top six, if you like, and the better quality teams in the Premier League, does he as a player shine through more than maybe others? Because, for example, it is a difficult game, but Morgan comes out on top as one of the best quality players in the side. I'm not saying that anyone had a really bad game yesterday, whereas other games, potentially if you're playing an Ipswich or a Southampton near the bottom of the table, other players that aren't as good as Gibbs-White will maybe... Do you get what I'm trying to say? Maybe maybe just almost cover, and all have good games rather than just Morgan.
Maybe, yeah. I've not really thought about it, but if you're playing against an Ipswich, for example, they might be sort of like, right, we need to lock him down. Whereas you play against a Liverpool or a United, they're more focused on what they need to do to go and win the game. And maybe we're in a position where we're thinking, right, how do we sit on Bruno Fernandes? But there's no doubt Morgan Gibbs-White is a top six player, caliber player, and so he probably looks like he belongs at that level, which he is at Forest because we're fifth in the table. I also think that there's sort of a media narrative thing there where everybody knows Morgan Gibbs-White is Forest's best player, whether he's been bang on his top form at the minute, that doesn't really matter. He is. And so the narrative around him is always Morgan Gibbs-White. They're always speaking to him after the game. They're always looking at what he's doing. And when he scores and gets an assist against United, then that narrative continues. So maybe other players don't get as much attention. And so it feels like he does really well in those games. But I think, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, let's talk about kind of other players and especially Jota Silva. We mentioned him earlier. Just, I think, the pace, and I wouldn't say that Jota's probably technically the best player on the pitch. However, when he gets the ball, and there was times when Forest broke yesterday, and actually I think it was Jamie Redknapp highlighted it on Sky quite a bit and focused about how quickly almost Forest broke, and you could tell, and with Jota and Callum on the wings, you just felt like the pace was back there yesterday. And when Jota got the ball, he continued to run at him. He got some good crosses in the box. He had a chance of an assist if Wood gets at the end of that and scores. And obviously that header where he hits the bar, I don't know about you, but his energy, and he's obviously started the past 2 games for Forest, which has been could be in 3 actually, past 3 games. His energy and his enthusiasm really seems to be benefiting the side, and maybe turned a little bit of a poor dip that Forest were in.
Yeah, I agree. I think him coming into the starting 11 was a little bit overdue, to be honest. I think he probably deserved it earlier than he got. I think maybe Elanga and Hudson-Odoi had kind of got a bit comfortable in their starting 11 spots, and particularly Elanga, I thought we've not seen the best of him this season so far. And if you've got someone like Jota who's going to come on, he's going to run his socks off, he's going to compete for everything, and he's going to do everything he can to to get himself into those attacking positions. And he's a very talented footballer. Like Max said as well, he's good in the air. He's just a nuisance. And there's not many players like him in the Premier League, and I think that's what is so good about him. He's a different winger for most fullbacks and centre halves to have to deal with. He's not. He's someone that's going to be hard into a tackle. He's going to be strong. He's going to try and take you on. He's going to put balls in the box. He's a box of tricks. You don't really know what you're going to get from him. So I think defending against that must be an absolute nightmare. So yeah, I think he's deserved his spot, and just hope he can get his kind of Premier League goal, because I think he deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think he should start every game for Forest now, Max? Do you think he's earned that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's up to Nuno, I guess, is an easy answer to say. I think it's great having Alanga to come off the bench. It's great having Jota to come off the bench. I think he's deserved a shot. And particularly like against Ipswich, I thought whenever he got the ball, he was really direct. And as Sam rightly said, he's a proper nuisance. But he didn't get much service, because understandably, Hudson-Odoi is so good at keeping the ball. He's so good on the ball that a lot of it goes down that side. But yeah, I think he deserves it. And Alanga has been slightly off it, and this is what happens in top level football, in team sports. People come out the side for a bit, not necessarily because they've had a shocker, but because there's competition for places, and Silva's looked great as he's come on. I'd like to see him start the next game, yeah. But I think there'll probably be a time where Alanga's ready to come back in, and he's looked good in training, and he's maybe found that sharpness and found that form. But what Silva does so well is he just, he's so direct. When Alanga gets a ball, I just think, mate, knock it past him and go. And I know you can't do that all the time.
Just use his pace.
Yeah, and I think Silva's close ball control is probably slightly better. Maybe it's because he's not as quick as Alanga. It's so difficult being as quick as Alanga and being able to keep the ball at your feet like Mbappe. Not many other people can do that. So I just think it's great that we've got that again, and it's credit to the board for and the people bringing the players in. No one knew who he was, and he's turned out to be now a starter for a Premier League side in the top 5. And we've got lots of good stuff going on in that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of good stuff. Let's talk about Chris Wood, because, well, as the Forest ones were singing yesterday in the away end, Chris Wood again, ole ole. And actually at half time when I went down into the concourse, one lad was singing, "Let them know it's Chris Wood time again." I thought, that's good. He's very creative. There was quite a few ones yesterday, and there was 4 Ryan Yates, 5 Ryan Yates. I won't sing it, but I'm sure you can do it. And then Ryan Yates and a Pear Tree. So it was good Christmas songs yesterday from the Forest faithful. It was Chris Wood again, meaning he is now the all-time Premier League top goal scorer. Brilliant stat, Sam. Another record broken for Forest this season, and just goes to show Chris Wood proving people wrong, proving me wrong when I slagged him off a year ago, and just so good to see him doing what he just does best at the minute.
Yeah, absolute goal machine. He's so lethal, and every time we play, you just think he's going to score, don't you? It's almost like if he doesn't score, you're thinking, he's had a bit of an off day, which is mental to think about for a Forest striker. But he's phenomenal. I mean, the goal was a bit of a weird one. I'm not quite sure it was. I'm not quite sure it was even a shot, really. I think he was just kind of putting that ball back into an area. United's defenders have got themselves into the right mess again. But I mean, Chris Wood won't mind. We don't mind. He's now that he's kind of getting all these plaudits and he's high up in the goal scoring charts. He's a focal point now that teams have to worry about, and it plays into our hands so well, because the likes of Anderson, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, these attacking creative players, all the attention for the defenders is drawn to Chris Wood, because he's the target man. He's the one that's getting all these goals, and it's just freeing up loads of space, and we're just looking like almost like a complete team. I do fear for if he was to get injured. I think we are very weak in that area in terms of strength and depth. Awoniyi doesn't look like half the player that he kind of was last season, which is a real shame, because we all know the talent that is there and what could have been had he not kind of had those injury problems. But I think while Chris Wood's fit, we look a complete team. I do worry that if that kind of if he picks an injury or a suspension or anything like that, then we almost have to take a real different approach to things.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And I think also, and I was saying this to someone the other day, Forest are an attractive club to come to in January, and everyone talks about how hard it is to sign, especially a Premier League striker. He says in quotation marks in January, but when you think about it, Forest could be sat 5th, 6th, even in the top 8, the top 10 by the time the January transfer window opens, and it becomes then an attractive club for players to move to, either from the Championship or from wherever. So yeah, just brilliant. Few comments on Facebook I'll read out. This one from Richie, terrific from Woodley, in some company with Brian Roy. Congratulations, bringing in so many others into the game, and as you say, creating so much to others as well. Yeah, completely agree. Max, can Forest have something special this season? I'm asking everyone at the minute. Yes, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but the signs are there to say we're 5th on Sunday the 8th of December, and providing the results go our way, we could be at the end of Premier League, this Premier League match day weekend. So can we go somewhere, and can Forest do it this season? Can we almost be that surprise team, a bit like Nuno was with his Wolves when he got them Europe?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, surprises and miracles are in our blood. So, crazier things have happened in football. Forest have done crazier things in their own history than just us qualifying for Europe this season. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but of course I think we can. And I think you have to credit the owner for setting the standard and saying it when everyone else thought it were ridiculous. And that's what leadership is. It's setting a standard and then maintaining it and demanding that, and that's what's happening at the club. And things are falling into place, but it's not all pot luck where we are at the minute. It's hard work. It's the right decisions and the right signings. So why not? Why not us? Again, I wouldn't be surprised if we finish 10th or even 12th. This is the Premier League. I'd still consider that a successful season on the whole. But equally, I could see us qualifying for Europe for sure. And I'm already sort of planning, trips to Bratislava and all that sort of stuff, because that's what we dream of. And but I think it's relevant as well, particularly to what Sam said, is I think we need to buy a striker in January, not because not to replace Chris Wood, but if he gets injured, Sam's absolutely right. I think we'd struggle, and so in the spirit of moving forward, in the spirit of looking up rather than down, buying a striker that's going to sort of compete for a place is I think exactly what Forest need to do in January.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we go, I wanted to highlight one more key player that I don't think gets enough praise, which is bizarre because he holds one of the most important positions on the pitch. You can maybe guess it with it being Matz Sels. Yesterday against United, 5 saves, 4 inside the box, 8 accurate long balls, 2 high claims, and 100% successful run out. Aerial duels 1, 10 recoveries, and 2 clearances. Doesn't get much better than that. That was obviously one of the best records in a while for him during a game. I thought he had a good game yesterday. I think his distribution could maybe be slightly better, but that's me probably being really harsh. And I'm not a goalkeeper, but I thought he was excellent, and I thought some of the saves, especially that free kick, was excellent as well. Sam, how important is Matz Sels? And we've talked about it lots on this podcast before. When he came in, everyone was a bit surprised. Everyone thought, is it going to be the right option for Forest? We were desperate for a goalkeeper, but isn't it funny that a season later, maybe a year later, in fact, we're not talking about Forest switching goalkeepers every week, are we?
No, exactly. It's a bit of a thankless job, really. I mean, what you want from your goalkeepers to not be talking about them, because if you're talking about them, they're probably making mistakes, and they're like everyone's going to be talking about Andre Onana in the media and the press this week because he had a bit of a stinker. He's been really good this season, but he had a bit of a stinker. Whereas we've not had to deal with that this season at all. Last couple of years, we've had a few moments where that's kind of been the talking point, and it's just nice having a kind of a settled keeper. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with this new kind of resolute defence that we've got. Having a strong keeper behind you brings confidence to that back four, and vice versa as well. Having a strong back four brings confidence to the keeper, and they're all working in tandem together. really well. And the fact that we don't really need to talk about him is exactly what you want from your goalkeeper, like I say. So, yeah, very happy with where we are with him. He's solid. Like you say, his distribution might not be the best, but keep the ball out of the net, mate. That's all we need.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I'd say about Matz Sels, right, is he's just one of a long list of Forest players who were either written off previously or are rebuilding their career and flourishing at Forest. So Matz Sels is one of them. Ola Aina was a free agent. He'd been playing football, I think, in France. I mean, we all know about the Farmers League jibe. You look at Ryan Yates; he's been written off by parts of his own fan base for years, and here he is captaining the side, and I think doing an absolutely solid job. You've got Callum Hudson-Odoi again. No one really wanted him, and you sort of thought, God, is he going to be one of those players that you sign him and he's on ridiculous wages and he doesn't do much? He's been magnificent. Chris Wood. Everyone writ him off. No one thought he'd be Forest Premier League all-time leading goal scorer. So Matz Sels is just that's what's so endearing about this Forest side. And I think it really reflects the spirit of the city and who we are as fans, and what makes us such a historic side is that we do things with groups of players that no one thinks you can achieve things with, and we do. And so that's what's so great about this side. So what's so magic about it?
Absolutely. Clip that, mate. That was it. That was excellent. Say that on TalkSport tomorrow. Spot on. Good point. Right, just quickly before we go, and I'm going to ask everyone that we do the podcast with up until Christmas, actually, where can Forest be at the start of January? Where can Forest be at the start of 2025? Where are we going to be in the league table? Sam, your answer first, mate.
There's a few tough games coming up.
Yeah.
And we have been on a bit of a tough run as well. I honestly think that we can be in the top 7. I think by January, I think that puts us in a really good place to maybe get a player or two in January in key positions, and really just go on and build from there. Like we've played the current top 4 all away, I think, so far this season. So they're all done. All those away games are done. And I think that push from January, I think if we're in top 7, I think Europe really is a realistic target that we could aim for. Obviously, it's like I say, it's not a foregone conclusion, and it's still massively overachieving for what we saw at the start of the season. But putting us in that top 7 spot, I'm gonna top 7, and I think that from there we can really make a good push for Europe.
Yeah, Max, what about you?
When you said the question, I immediately thought top 7, but equally I look at playing Villa and Spurs, who aren't having their best of seasons, who on paper are difficult and will be difficult opponents, but I certainly think can get results out of that game. I mean, we've beaten Liverpool this season, so I would say top 7 is realistic. But if it's not, if it's 9th, 10th, we're still going to be really close to those European spots anyway, and so we've positioned ourselves really well.
Yeah, we will be. Boys, thanks as ever. Great discussion, and yeah, so nice to be talking. Who'd have thought we'd have been talking about Forest? 5th in the Premier League, doing a podcast. It makes it. Sam, I can remember we did the Brighton one when Forest drew like 0-0. I actually texted you and was like, mate, I'm really sorry, but I need you to do this podcast. I was like begging people to do it because no one wanted to come on and talk about it. But there we go. It's all worth it in the end. It makes it all worthwhile, and especially that special moment in the away and yesterday, the Forest fans in full voice. And yeah, it was brilliant. Actually feeling a little bit worse for wear this morning with my voice. I've not been out drinking, but the voice is nearly gone after singing that much. Max, thanks as ever, mate. Hope to see you back again soon.
Yeah, for sure, mate. It's been great.
Good. And Sam, quick actually, give us a little bit of a promo. Anything coming up for? How can people get their hands on your t-shirts ready for the Christmas rush?
Yeah, just check me out on Instagram, tricky.tees, and then the website links through there. We've got free delivery on this weekend. So yeah, I'm actually wearing the Gibbs White t-shirt, if you can see that.
Yeah, lovely.
So yeah, there's loads of designs on there. So yeah, check it out. They make great Christmas presents if you're still thinking or panicking that you need to get something. They're good Christmas presents. So
I would thoroughly recommend it. By the way, I've got one, and it's my favourite t-shirt. I was wearing it yesterday, and the designs just bang on. And that is a shame. I mean, Obviously, there's no bloody, I'm not getting some commission or whatever. But
there's something going on there, Max. Is it? Yeah.
I'll slip you that. I'll slip you that 20 quid later, Max. Cheers.
Yeah.
Where's my blooming commission, Sam? Come on, boys. Thanks. Great job as ever. Yes, give us a like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We'll be back this week with more podcasts, and obviously before the Villa game as well over Christmas. It might be a bit disjointed, but we'll be with you where we can. We'll do some good podcasts. We will keep talking about Forest doing well because it's nice to do it. And have a great rest of your day. Thanks as always for listening. Chris Wood becomes Forest's all-time Premier League top goal scorer. And a fun fact for you, Nuno becomes the first manager that played as a goalkeeper in his playing career to ever win at Old Trafford. So that one for you as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day and we'll see you very soon. You Reds.